Hello and welcome to a new episode of Geek Lunch Meat. I'm your host Chris, as usual. Hope you're well, wherever you are around the world. Here in the UK, after an unseasonably hot June, we're now back to typical British summer weather, and it's absolutely chucking it down and blowing a hoolie. So what better time than to sit down, get yourself a drink, and dig into a good book. And I thought this week, I did a video the other day looking at the trailer, the teaser trailer just released for the next Godzilla movie from Toho Studios, Godzilla -1, that looks absolutely stunning. If you've not already seen that, don't forget to go and have a look. And I thought we would take a look at the art of books from the three legendary Godzilla movies, that make up the Monsterverse. And if you like the video, of course, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Helps out a great deal, gets the video seen by more people. And if you've not already subscribed, why not hit that subscribe button? We would absolutely love to have you. So the art of books that we're going to be looking at today, it says there are of books, as well as they're mainly to do all the concept artwork that's generated for the films, but they're sort of making of books as well. There's interviews with the director and all the cast, and there's sort of stuff about the production as well. So it's not purely just the images. So obviously the first one we've got is Godzilla, the Art of Destruction. Obviously is based on the first legendary film from Gareth Edwards. And there's some great stuff in here that we'll have a look at in a second, where they obviously have to nail down the look of a new, classic Godzilla, as such as he is here. So say there's that one, followed up by the sequel, which is The Art of Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Now, obviously, we've got a lot more monsters going on here. We've got King Ghidorah and Rodan and Mothra and all things like that. So there's a lot more stuff going on in this one, which we'll take a look at in a sec as well. And then a third one we've got is Godzilla vs. Kong, One Will Fall, the Art of the Ultimate Battle Royale. So obviously in this one, they introduce Kong, fresh from his appearance on Kong Skull Island. And we get the newly reimagined Mecha Godzilla as well, which has got some great designs in here. So before we get stuck into these three, there's just one very nerdy, annoying thing to point out, which probably annoys people like me. If you're going to do some books in the same series, make them all the same size. The first book and the third book have both got dust covers. The middle book doesn't have a dust cover, and as you can see, is longer and taller. It's only a small thing, but the design nerd in me just winds me up slightly. But enough about that. Let's crack these books open and take a look inside. Okay, so we have Godzilla, The Art of Destruction, written by Mark Kotovaz, who I think he wrote lots of making of books. I think he was a writer for the sadly missed Cinefex magazine, which sadly went belly up during the pandemic, which unfortunately was probably the greatest visual effects sort of periodical published. Introduction by Gareth Edwards, the director. So a lovely first shot of all the spines there of Godzilla. So there's the introduction with Gareth Edwards directing. And we've got part one, Dreaming. As I said before, obviously lots of renditions of Godzilla in this volume, trying to get nailed down his look. So Gareth Edwards on set there with Ken Watanabe. And then lots of designs of the sets to begin with. There's a big double page spread of the nuclear reactor set. Some storyboard sequences, always good to see storyboards. One of the maquettes of the design for Godzilla. Got the previs process, previsualization, where they sort of use rough computer animation to obviously to block out scenes. A sort of more evolved process from the storyboards. Lovely double spread of Godzilla as he comes up underneath the aircraft carrier. A bit talking about the sound effects and getting Godzilla's roar. And then we get to the good stuff, making monsters. So there's Godzilla himself, the Mutos that appear in the film. Godzilla looking a bit more sort of dinosaur-like, a longer neck there. And these are really nice. There's some sort of fold out. We'll try and fit these onto camera. Let's have a look. These pages, as I say, is a big fold out that go through. So you've got, like you can see, sort of the evolution of Godzilla's design until we end up with sort of roughly the Godzilla that we get in the film. Lots of different variants of Godzilla heads, and then this is basically what we ended up with in the actual movie. Lovely piece of artwork of Godzilla himself appearing around this ruined building. And then we're finally on to sort of the big climactic battle scene, and lots of artwork from the big final battles. There we go, it's a nice shot there. Nice big double page spread, a sort of mock-up of Godzilla attacking with the soldiers in the foreground. Nice piece showing how they obviously use photographs, and actual background plates, and actually adding sort of the elements like Godzilla and the helicopter to real photographs and sort of photoshopping it up. Obviously much different to the way they used to work. It's a shame we don't get as much pencil drawings and actual artwork generated like in the classic Ralph McQuarrie paintings and like Joe Johnston from Star Wars, and then the Crash McCreery paintings from Jurassic Park. But obviously this is the way it's done these days, mostly in the computer. So nice storyboards of the sequence where they skydive down into the city at the end, and finishing off with this lovely rendering of Godzilla and the Muto and say the soldiers diving down towards them. So that is book 1, say Godzilla, The Art of Destruction. So on to book 2. So The Art of Godzilla, King of the Monsters by Abby Bernstein, forward by the director Michael Dougherty. So there's the forward there with the director. Some lovely artwork featuring Godzilla and sort of all the other kaiju from the movie. The clapperboard, where it was known as Fathom, was its title during production. Again, the pre-visualization where they rough out the scenes. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, very nice. Mothra's temple. Lots of artwork again using photographs mixed in with the art to give a realistic appearance. Lovely little page spread of Godzilla and King Ghidorah fighting out in the snow. One of the great sort of fight sequences in the film. Absolutely love that one. Godzilla approaching the underwater Monarch base. Let's have a look inside the control room of the base as well. So lots of set designs in this one. And we've got the characters as well. And then onto Godzilla. Obviously, they're pretty much using the same design from the first film as well. But some lovely artwork here that's been generated. It's a great shot of him with all the helicopters in the front there. And the classic where he roars and fires his nuclear breath up into the sky. And then we go on to got all the other kaiju. Obviously, we've got King Ghidorah. Looking very similar to how he appears in the original Japanese movies. Obviously, his three heads and his big wings. That's a great painting there. As the planes go roaring past Ghidorah, and then we're on to sort of the final battle in Boston, where Mothra turns up to help at the end as well. Lovely painting of Rodan and Ghidorah as well, fighting with planes flying by. And a lovely piece of artwork of all the other kaiju, where they all meet up at the end and all bow down to the mighty King of the Monsters. And that is Volume 2, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. So we move on to Godzilla vs. Kong. So we've got Godzilla vs. Kong, 1/4, The Art of the Ultimate Battle Royale by Daniel Wallace, forward by the director Adam Wingard. I will say the one thing that slightly annoys me with this movie is the fact that they've, after the last movie, as we've just seen, you got all those kaiju all turn up at the end. And then they just literally get bumped off in the opening credits, and we're just basically told that Godzilla has killed them all, which is a bit annoying after you've gone to the whole previous movie of building it all up, which is a shame. But we do get Kong, and I absolutely love Kong Skull Island. I think it's probably the best MonsterVerse movie. Got the forward by Adam Wingard there. Yeah, so it's good to see them team up. It's a shame we didn't get more of the other kaiju, and I hope for in installments going forward that maybe we'll get back to some of them. Lovely mock-up. It's probably, I think, the first promo image that they showed of obviously Godzilla and Kong as they're fighting on the deck of the aircraft carrier. It's a really nice piece of concept artwork there. We start off with this book looking at Monarch and Apex, the sort of designs of all the various places and the people involved in there. And we've got the champ Godzilla. Obviously, again, they've already nailed down his design. It doesn't change very much. So these paintings aren't so much as trying to get a design, rather a more sort of feel for the shots in the film. That shot with his foot coming down is very reminiscent to sort of some of the early concept art we got from the 1998 American Godzilla movie, where his foot comes down. And then we move on to Kong. Obviously, we'd already had Kong Skull Island. They basically made him bigger and made him a bit more beaten up and slightly older looking. But, he's still very much the Kong from the previous film. I love the idea, whoever came up with the idea of using a Godzilla, one of his dorsal scales, to actually make into an axe. I think it was a great idea. And sort of the first time they meet, the big battle scene at sea, which is really nicely done. A great piece of artwork of Kong interacting with the little girl, and he sort of gets to show a bit of his humanity. We've got the whole sequence inside the Hollow Earth, lots of new creatures and places that they go to or to be designed, like the Heave, the vehicle that they use to go down into the Hollow Earth. Lovely piece of Kong sitting on his throne back where he belongs. And say some of the new, there's the war bats we've got, the war bats, and all various other sort of creatures, the hell hawk that we find down in the Hollow Earth. And then we get to Mecha Godzilla. I must admit, the design that they used in the film, where it's got these sort of quite sticky out spines on the back and sort of quite long limbs, wasn't my favourite design. I mean, it's nice when you see it like this. Sort of say fully rendered, and you see all the rust and things on it. It looks okay there, but I must admit some of these designs here, where it's much more like the dimensions are much more like Godzilla himself. That sort of original man in suit dimensions. I'd say some of these designs I actually would have preferred to see. But they went through lots of different sort of design choices. I think this is very similar to what they ended up with, where sort of say the legs look very long. It's got those big sort of fins coming down the back. This one's a strange one. We have actually got another sort of pull-out section as well. So similar to the other volume. That one looks a bit like the old Zoid toys, if you remember them, from the 80s. These I really like as well. So these are sort of very looking much more like the sort of Mecha Godzilla from previous Japanese movies and so, which I would have preferred if they'd gone with something like that. I did like the idea of controlling Mecha Godzilla using a sort of psychic link with Ghidorah's skull from the previous movie that they found at the end. I thought that was a really good idea. It's a bit Pacific Rim, really, as well, which I like. And then the main event, so we get the big showdown at the end with Godzilla and Kong, and Mecha Godzilla as well. Nice piece of artwork as Godzilla uses his atomic breath on Kong. Sort of reminiscent of the original Kong movie. I'm climbing up the buildings there, looking pretty heroic. And then, sort of, let's say this is the final round. We've got Godzilla, Mecha Godzilla facing off. Some nice rendering of Mecha Godzilla there as well. So some absolutely gorgeous artwork from the final battle. Some storyboards and a nice rendering of the film's climax. So there we go. That is the third and final volume. Godzilla versus Kong 1 Will 4. So there you go. Look at the gorgeous art created for the legendary Godzilla movies. I'm sure with the next Godzilla Kong movie that's coming to us, I think it's March next year, isn't it? I'm sure there'll be another volume to add to this collection. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care wherever you are. Until next time, eat, geek and be merry.